Hello, my wonderful viewers, and welcome to another episode of Betty Adams Reacts, I guess. The trailer for the Kaiju number 8 anime has dropped, and it's fire. Okay, let's go. There will be spoilers for Kaiju number 8, chapters 1 and 2. And I just saw a lot of interesting things in this chapter. The very first thing that just stuck out to me was all of the subtle world building that goes on in the background of Matsumoto's stories. The stoplight. It is a very anime-esque aesthetic, anime tradition, anime trope, that when you're being introduced to an anime, introduced to the city, it pans over the stoplights, which makes sense. It gives you a kind of feel for the intersections, which can tell you a lot about a civilization. I mean, the intersections in India and Mexico and the United States and in Japan are very different. But as you pan over the intersection, it focuses in on the stoplight, because the stoplight is almost a universal human symbol at this point. But these stoplights are slightly different. They have, I don't think it's red, amber, and green in Japan. I don't know, but they have the 3 stoplight signals. 3 plain colors: red for stop, green for go, and then another color for slow down, for caution. But these stoplights had a 4th one, and the 4th one was a red flashing light with an stylized kaiju skull on it, which makes so much sense. If you're going to evacuate the entire population, you need to get the entire population out, and especially those who are driving and therefore can't be on their phones, or the deaf, or someone who just doesn't have a phone signal at the moment. And how do you get an entire city to be aware of something at once? You use the stoplights. In America, we have something very similar called the Amber Alert, named after a child named Amber who was kidnapped several years ago. When there is a kidnapping in a city, all of the city's traffic lights immediately start blinking amber. And this is built into the traffic system already. Anytime there's a disruption in the incredibly complex algorithms that run a city's traffic lights, the light just starts blinking yellow. And at that point, all drivers know, or should know if they've studied, to treat that signal as a 4-way stop sign, which can get pretty confusing in a big city, but it works out. Now, if all the lights in a city start blinking amber, this will immediately cause everybody, because there's been a huge educational push, as long as there's not, like a massive obvious power outage, everybody's supposed to turn on their radios, check their phones, because there's an Amber Alert. A child has been kidnapped. And with any sort of kidnapping, those first few hours are critical. So the faster they can get the message out, the better. So it doesn't matter if someone's not listening to their radio. It doesn't matter if someone's deaf. It doesn't matter if they don't have their phone on. The amber lights are blinking. Therefore, you know that something is going on. And I don't know if Japan has a similar concept with the Amber Alert, but you can see the same concept in this anime. There's a Kaiju alert, and when the Kaiju alert starts blinking, get to a shelter. That means there's a Kaiju attack. It's a very, very logical cultural social development in this world once you had Kaiju, and it's just another example of Matsumoto's excellent world building. Now, of course, you have the animation, and the animation looks fluid. This is a high-quality Shonen Jump anime. The animation is not the kiddie type animation aimed at lower ages. The background animation is constant, and the kaiju themselves are just fluid. We see that big kaiju, salamander-type kaiju swimming through the water. Another interesting thing, all of the clips appear to come from Chapter 1, maybe a little bit from Chapter 2, but so far, everything I've seen in the trailer comes from Chapter 1, which isn't really surprising. And in a Terminator 2 style announcement, the trailer is just blasting out the big plot twist. So at no point is the anime attempting to hide what happens to Kafka. It says right there in the trailer, in the translated English text, the man who became a kaiju, and it shows little guy crawling down his throat. And oh my goodness, little guy. Now, there was something that I feared, anticipated with lack of pleasure. Once the kaiju are animated, they're going to be grosser. It's just a law of animation. In a manga, a scene is just less visceral than it's going to be in the anime. And there have been several anime that I have given up watching simply because the battle that was interesting in the manga to me became too visceral, too ick, and I couldn't stand the squick and I had to stop watching. I'm probably going to watch Kaiju number 8 anyway, and I'm just going to fast forward through the ick parts. But completely to my lack of surprise, yes, the kaiju in the anime, them getting their guts blasted open, are far more disgusting than it is in a black and white manga. And then you have the whole issue with the faces. All of the human characters were smoothed down, and they have fewer lines to animate than their manga counterparts do, which, you know, makes sense. I'm betting that had the characters looked more like they were in the manga, it would have increased the cost of animation, and I will definitely take a hit to animation quality as long as the storytelling is good. And hey, we've all seen worse. I'm pretty sure that anybody listening to this video has watched Vision of Escaflowne, or the original Escaflowne, and oh my goodness, those noses. But, you know, with the new animation styles, you get used to it, you write it off. Okay, maybe Kafka does look distinctly smoother than he does in the manga, but hey, we'll get used to it. But little guy, the little flying kaiju that crawled down Kafka's mouth in the first place and started all of this. His design is different. Now, when I originally did my analysis of the design, I was struck by the fact that his design was remarkably neotenous. Now, what does that mean? If you've ever read a How to Draw a manga book, it tells you the difference between a child and an adult, and the difference is in the proportions, the ratio of the head and the eyes to the rest of the body. A child, a baby, has a much larger head, kind of a chubbier body. These are very, very distinctive. And the human brain is wired to treat cute, neotenous things better, nicer, and we're wired to think of them as being innocent and childlike. And little guy in the manga was distinctly neotenous. He had a large eyes, a shorter, rounder head, and chubby little arms and legs. In the anime, little guy is distinctly less neotenous. Little guy's snout has been elongated, removing that chubby, stubby, smaller ratio. His eyes have been made slightly smaller and set further apart, and his arm and legs are longer and thinner. Now, this might have just been foreshortening caused by the few images that we saw him in, and he was never intended to be neotenous. But I am curious, because the neoteny is not entirely gone. His eyes are still large, and his proportions are still closer to child proportions than to adult proportions. But they are distinctly less so in the anime, which makes me think that if this was a deliberate choice, if this wasn't a accident on the animator's part, which would be really interesting because all of the other characters were made to look younger, rounder, smoother, more childlike. And yet this one creature was made to look less so. Wondering if that was a deliberate choice to make little guy seem less sympathetic than he does in the manga so far. As if you've watched my channel any length of time, you know I kind of have a fixation on the little guy and my suspicion that he has something of a child mind and a lot of the odd behavior that we've seen the kaiju part of Kaiju number 8 display could be the mind of a toddler trying to grapple with this strange world that he's in. But what do you think, my wonderful viewers? We have, what did I count out? 7 months? September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, 8 months. 8 months. And so that's going to be, we've got 17 more chapters of the manga to come out before the first episode of Kaiju number 8 airs. Therefore, we are looking at 108 chapters of the manga being out before the anime airs. So that suggests to me that the anime will not be pacing the manga to any horrible degree unless there's something happens with Matsumoto. Let's hope not. But what do you think, my wonderful viewers? Did anything strike you about the animation in the anime? Do you think we'll be able to ignore the weird, smoothed over in a rock tumbler look of the humans? What did you think of the fluidity of the kaiju animation? And do you think it's meaningful and relevant, that the little guy appears to be less neotenous, less childlike and innocent looking in the anime than in the manga. Tell me what you think in the comments below the video. Hit that like and subscribe button. Go check out the links below the video to get yourself a copy of my book. If anybody wants a copy of Flying Sparks, if you want to be in the pre-order, I have switched to a on-demand store, but you just have to go and fill out the form to get on my email list and just email me from my website. Peace out, my wonderful viewers. Do you love awesome science fiction books? Of course you do. If you check out the links below the video, you can get yourself a copy of Comedy or Tragedy. Humans Are Weird. I have the data. Humans Are Weird. We took a vote, and Humans Are Weird, Let's Work It Out are the 3 comedy short story books available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo by Rakuten, Google Play. There's even some copies at Powell's Books, the famous used bookstore in Portland, Oregon. Dying Embers, dragons, aliens, and things that go boom in the night, and soon Flying Sparks, more dramatic traditional science fiction novels, are also available at Amazon. Flying Sparks is still in the pre-order page. If you want a copy, you can email me by contacting the website to pre-order yourself a copy. It's still being edited. So check out the links below the video to get yourself a copy of some wonderful science fiction.